So I think it's safe to officially say that this show has completely ruined the term "I want you inside me." I don't want anybody else to ever say that to me again. I'm good, because I can't unsee what I saw, and every time that somebody says that, I'm probably going to envision what I saw, and I don't really want to do that, guys. So please, let's just leave that off the table. Nobody ever say that again. Let's just never say that again. Let's just promise to never use that term again. Now, Herogasm, I'm all in for that. If anybody is having events for that, send it to me privately if that's a thing on YouTube. I'm being a weirdo. The Boys Season 3. Hey guys, it's your guy in the chair here, and this is my spoiler-filled review of The Boys Season 3. Now, spoiler-filled means, of course, that this is going to have all spoilers throughout. So, from the beginning of this video, you have been warned. We are going to be talking about nothing but spoilers from here on out. Essentially, I'm just going to be going over events in the season that I want to talk about. So I'm not necessarily going to be talking about things in specific orders, but you have been warned. So let's get to it. So Season 3 follows our characters where essentially tensions are rising. Homelander and Butcher have to essentially smash this tension, go at it at some point just because they want to see each other dead. Butcher took Ryan from Homelander, so Homelander's trying to find every way possible to get this guy killed without ruining his reputation, of course. We see Huey in the beginning of the season trying to fight the Supes in a different way by going the political route. He finds out that essentially the person he's working for is a superhero as well. It's all rigged. He has to go back to the boys and do his thing. And essentially the only way we can find a weapon strong enough to kill Homelander is the original superhero himself, who Homelander was made from, and that's Soldier Boy. And Soldier Boy is found from this Russian tube, cryogenical type thing, and essentially now Homelander has to go against Butcher, Huey, Soldier Boy, and they have to essentially find a way to fight Homelander. That's the best way I can describe the plot, because there's a lot of other stuff that happens too. Of course, there's different subplots and things like that, but that's the gist of it. So let's get into the good stuff. To start out with the biggest highlight of the season, of course, we have to start with Anthony Starr as Homelander. This guy is an absolute menace on screen. He's a superstar. Anthony Starr has really come into his own. Each season, he's honestly separated himself from the evil Superman tropes. Like, he's getting further and further away from that evil Superman narrative, and he's really trying to make Homelander his own. He's trying to make Homelander a villain within himself. He's trying to make Homelander its own character, its own thing, and Anthony Starr is doing a phenomenal job at that. Look, this guy from episode 1 to episode 8 is absolutely maniacal. He's a sociopath. He's sick in the head. Of course, we've seen, Homelander in the past with, his mother issues and, essentially just all his other issues up there in the head. But this season, a lot of stuff really comes to front, front and center. Like, Homelander can't take it anymore. One thing I will always say about, essentially Superman-esque characters, or, characters with that same kind of power, I always, am like, if they really, I understand, Homelander has a reputation to keep, but the way that, people essentially think they can stand up to Homelander, or essentially the way, I feel like Homelander could really squash a lot of these people. Just like we know, Superman could really squash a lot of these other characters, but, there's something just keeping them alive. That's the thing about The Boys that really makes this a lot of fun. There's a Superman-esque character out there, but essentially he can't touch these guys. He can't touch he can't touch them the way he wants to, and that was going to be a major pause. But he can't touch them in the sense of he can't just kill them just because he wants to. Well, at least that was the case before. Now, with Homelander just out there lasering people's heads in, and Ryan doing his little maniacal smile, I have no idea what is going to happen in this next season. Homelander is about to turn into a whole different beast. But for this season specifically, I loved Homelander. I thought that he was a very compelling villain. He's honestly a guy where you could see his story. You could, I don't know if I could necessarily say it's relatable all the way, but you can definitely sense, why he's the way he is, or does what he does. It's just a sense of, Homelander not necessarily always having a family aspect. Vought set up this entire thing for him since his childhood. He's never essentially been able to have a family of his own, a real one. He's never got to experience that, what life is in the rest of us. He's always been locked up. He's been Vaught's toy the entire time. And it's like now he essentially wants to step into his own realm and make his own world and make his own rules. And I'm very afraid of what that's going to become, because Homelander has a lot of followers. Even, Mother's Milk's daughter's stepdad, that annoying character. He has a lot of followers, and it's only going to get worse from here on out, guys. Like, this guy is just going to become a complete monster. I'm excited to see it. He does so much great work in this show. Homelander's just he's the biggest highlight of the season. He's the biggest surprise, in a sense, just because this character finds a way to wow me more and more each season. Like, he gets better and better. I'll say this. The best part of Homelander that I know tore him apart was when he had to kill Noir. Noir was his best man, his right-hand man. And if you've seen the spinoff, The Boys Diabolical, there's the very last episode, there's an animated episode where, there's a kind of a story between the two. And I would honestly recommend going to check that out, because it actually ties into season 3. But Homelander killing Noir absolutely just destroyed him, because Noir was the only guy he could really trust. Like, he was the only person in the 7 who he really had faith in, and the fact that Noir couldn't tell him that he had a dad out there just completely destroyed him. And once, you could tell, like, Homelander was done. Like, once he ripped Noir apart, man, Homelander was absolutely done with everybody. And it's so funny to see the way he treats the Deep. The Deep himself, look, Chase Crawford, man, you are an absolute, or Chance, it's Chase Crawford. Yeah, you're you're hysterical, bro. Shout out to the Deep. That guy never fails to make me laugh. You're such a weirdo, bro, but you're one of the best characters on the show. As far as like a hysterical point, as far as a hysterical standpoint, you're one of the best characters on the show. The Deep rocks. Simple as that. Another big standout of the show, I thought, of course, was the boys themselves. Look, they gave all of the characters, Butcher, Huey, Mother's Milk, Frenchie, they gave all of the characters, a storyline. They gave all of them a purpose this season, and it was very great to see that purpose unfold. Butcher, it was great to see that narrative of, you becoming your worst nightmare, because he took the temporary V and he's got the superpowers, and now he only has essentially like 12 to 18 months to live, so it's going to be fun to see how that narrative plays out. But just watching him throughout this season essentially becoming his worst enemy, to go to the lengths to see his mortal enemy destroyed, like, it took a toll on Butcher. And I gotta be real with you, the decision he made in episode 7 to where he didn't want to tell Huey about the effects of temporary V, I honestly was going to be very upset at Butcher, and I was, if they would have carried that decision out into episode 8, Butcher probably would have been like last on my list of favorite characters. Like, I would have hated, but I really was mad at Butcher last week for not telling Huey about the temporary V's effects, like the fact that it could have died. But he redeemed himself by knocking him out in the last episode and, saving him at the end of the day. That really sucked too. I honestly was going to be mad at that decision if Butcher did decide to not tell Huey and they carried out the plan and he let Huey take the V, because essentially, like, the entire episode 7, Butcher was in a comatic trance about his little brother. Like, he was dreaming about, his brother's past, his life with his brother in the past and their abusive dad. And essentially, I'm like, dude, there's no way you saw all that and you still didn't want to tell Huey, because Huey is a resembling image of your brother, and there's just no way you didn't want to help him. And he did. So I'm thankful for that, because that really, look, my friend did tell me, though, like, Butcher's decision to not tell him was kind of on par with the character. Honestly, it is, but I didn't really get that until this week when he knocked Huey out, because that's on par with Butcher's character as well. Like, Butcher's not really a talkative guy. He's either just gonna knock you out and just, help you out, and he's not gonna tell you why he's doing what he's doing, but he's a good guy at the end of the day, and he really wants to help in his own sick, maniacal ways himself. Huey, on the other hand, I really enjoyed his character development. Each character had phenomenal development. Even, not only the boys themselves, like every character in the 7, Maeve, A-Train, the Deep doesn't necessarily have character development, but he has character moments where we just appreciate throughout the entire series, except for, of course, his, mouth raping of Starlight in the beginning. Yeah, we don't approve of that. But other than that, the Deep just has character moments where he just shines. He just finds a way to steal the show every time. But essentially, look, Huey was a character where I really appreciated the fact that we built on the narrative of him being so weak. Like, every time Huey walks into a room, he is automatically just ripped on by even humans. Like, even regular humans consider Huey to be the weakest of the weak. So temporary V for him was kind of an important, factor in this season, because he wanted to be, more than just helpless Huey. He wanted to actually be able to save Starlight, be able to be have a purpose on this team. Like, he wanted to feel like he was more than just, the helpless Huey that always has to be saved, or essentially Huey, Butcher's little brother, as he always sees him. Like, Huey wanted to be more than that. And I just really appreciate them actually giving all of these characters not only ample screen time to flesh these subplots out, but they're giving these characters just, essentially more reasons to grow into our hearts. Mother's Milk was the heart of this season, because his issues with Soulja Boy, like his personal vendetta against him for killing his family, Mother's Milk really had to hold a lot back this season. He had to be the mental, not necessarily the mental, but he had to be essentially like the core of the group. Like, he had to be the one to keep it together. Like, he couldn't do what Butcher and Huey were doing. He couldn't just go off, because he didn't want to see Butcher's plan of, using Soulja Boy to kill Homelander. He didn't want to see that played out. He wanted to see Soulja Boy dead. He knew Soulja Boy was bad from the beginning. And, it was honestly great to just see them really use these characters to their full advantage. Like, they made sure every character had a purpose this season, and I loved it. Especially Frenchie. Frenchie's side story, I can't lie, I don't recall that well. I remember it. Like, of course, it was dealing with like his past and stuff like that, with his past missions and things like that. But I didn't really pay attention to his storyline that much. I think that was out of everybody's, subplot, including people from the Seven, I feel like Frenchie's was probably the least most interesting. The most surprising storyline for me this season was actually A-Train, Jesse T. Usher. I honestly didn't like his storyline up until like a certain point. Maybe like it took me to maybe like episode 4 or 5 to really get on board with what they were doing with A-Train. But by the time we end with A-Train's story in this season, he had one of the most impactful storylines in my perspective. I thought he had one of the most impactful storylines of this entire season. A-Train was honestly very good. Like, yeah, that's a very good character. Like, it's crazy to see like him go full circle, because he used to be like the biggest douche. He used to just not care about anything, just killing people left and right. And then finally he gets a sense of it. He gets a taste of his own medicine, where Blue Hawk, or whatever the villain was, the racist villain that was going out there terrorizing people and put his brother in a wheelchair. Like, he gets a sense of what happens when people carelessly use their powers, get others harmed, and nobody cares about it. Like, people just have to clean up their mess, and he gets a taste of his own medicine. And it was honestly really satisfying to see that, because, A-Train just didn't care about anyone or anything before this. So it was honestly very surprising to see that. It was honestly very nice to see that. And they just did a great job with every character in this show. Especially, look, even Maeve. I'll say this. I wasn't the biggest fan of the final, showdown. I wanted to see Noir and Soulja Boy go at it at least one more time. Like, I felt like they needed to essentially just get whatever it was. They needed the rematch. I needed a Noir to get his lick back, because like that animated beating was bad. I'm honestly glad they didn't show that in real life. Essentially, I do want to, however, see him get picked up by. I did want to see him get picked up by his nostrils and punched again. I thought that would have been pretty cool to see in real life. But Noir got effed up badly, and I was really upset that I didn't get to see him get his lick back. But Maeve and Homelander had to do, I guess, because there was tension throughout that too. Maeve is done with Homelander. She always wanted to see him dead, so I guess that had to come to full circle at some point too. But the final showdown itself between, Soulja Boy and, everybody, it was good. It was a good final battle. Like I said, I honestly thought it was going to really lead up to specifically Butcher versus Homelander, Soulja Boy versus Noir. We didn't get that, but I'm kind of disappointed in a sense, but it was overall still a good final battle. Soulja Boy himself, Jensen Ackles, really brought his Winchester charm to this show. He didn't miss a beat. He played Soulja Boy very well. It's a very good character. I don't really have much to say about Soulja Boy, just because he wasn't, I'd say of all the characters in the show, he wasn't the most like complex. Like he was just a character who was betrayed by his own team. He was very relatable to Homelander, like, but he's not as fleshed out as Homelander is. Like he's who Homelander was before Homelander. Like, so we already know what that story is. We already know what that really looks like because we have the live and in charge version of Homelander. So we don't necessarily need to see a whole backstory of it. But Soulja Boy is a very good character. He does very good, plot development things for the season. He's a jackass. Jensen Ackles is really funny at times. Like I just really enjoyed him being a part of this show, joining this whole dynamic of the boys and everything. And he just does a really good job throughout the entire show. I mean, I really don't have anything negative to say about this show. I never did. I don't have anything negative to say about any season at all. Like I said, I was just kind of disappointed in the fact that honestly, if I had to pick one thing, I'm just mad that Noir and Soulja Boy didn't get another rematch. Like that sucked. But the only reason I'm not too upset about that is because Homelander killed Noir, and that was a big plot development, not only a plot twist, but a development for Homelander's character. Like, he truly is stepping into this marksmanship, or maybe not marksmanship, but he's stepping into this role where he doesn't care. Like, he really doesn't care what people say or think anymore. Like, he's really going to do whatever he wants. And that's going to get very scary for our boys, like, in these future seasons. And I'm just excited to see how it all plays out. Overall, guys, look. The Boys just gets better and better every season. I enjoyed every part of this season. I enjoyed every second of this season. I won't necessarily say it's the best thing on television just because Stranger Things did just come out last week, and I am still completely wowed about that. But The Boys definitely did its thing this season. I wish it was kind of longer, but, I'm good with the 8 episodes. I thought it was a very compelling 8 episodes. I thought we didn't waste any time with any of these episodes. We didn't waste any time with any of these characters. Everybody had a purpose. It was a very character-driven season. I can't wait until season 4. I will say Herogasm was one of the most, hyped up things in a very long time for a show. Not, like, essentially like an event in a show happening. And like I've seen the comic strip of Herogasm, and I mean, you can't necessarily do everything that the comic strip did, but, for them to hype it up the way they did, Herogasm was cool. It was cool. It was funny. It was very funny to see, there's some wild stuff going on, but it wasn't necessarily, as hyped up as everybody thought it was. Like, for being honest, I've seen worse. I'm not going to tell you where I saw worse at, but I've seen worse than Herogasm. I don't even want to talk about it. But guys, that is my review for The Boys Season 3. Look, The Boys, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Are you ready for Season 4? What are your predictions? What do you think Ryan and Homelander's dynamic is going to be now in Season 4? Do you think Ryan's going to be essentially what they wanted to do in Brightburn, and we're going to make an evil Superman kid? I'm ready to see that play out because Brightburn was actually a phenomenal movie, and I really wish I would have got like a sequel or something to see this kid really, create damage. But I'm leaving it up to you, Ryan. I'm hoping you do the damage, that the Brightburn kid was supposed to do. I can't wait to see it. Look, The Boys Season 3, guys, leave your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. This is your guy in the chair, guys. Thank you so much. More content coming to you soon.